I was nervous as I locked the front door and sat in my car, contemplating what had just happened between myself and my wife. I couldn't believe that we had finally confronted the disintegration of our relationship. It had been a long time coming, with months of arguments and tension, but now that it was out in the open, it felt strange. Final. I pulled myself together and drove to work, where I let the humdrum of daily routine take over my thoughts. As much as I tried to push it to the back of my mind, though, there was one person who dominated my every thought: Himari. It started innocently enough, conversations at lunchtime, sharing an occasional cigarette break, but soon became a full-blown infatuation with all-encompassing thoughts of Himari day and night. During a difficult phone call with my wife, or when trying to sleep at night beside her angry form, it was Himari's gentle laugh or doe-eyed stare that provided me comfort. And then one day after work she had asked me back to her apartment for dinner, an innocent gesture between friends, but something far more significant for me. Nervously following her through the city streets, we eventually arrived at a small yet cozy apartment building and climbed up several flights of stairs before stopping outside one particular door. The apartment felt warm as soon as she swung open the door, revealing a sparsely furnished yet homely space illuminated by soft lighting from just 2 lamps, the orangey glow reflecting off the wooden floors and neutral-colored walls. As I took off my shoes by the entranceway, I could smell delicious aromas wafting from across the room and from where she stood busy in the kitchen, stirring pots on top of gas burners emitting flames beneath them, preparing something traditional Japanese for us both. We spoke about all manner of topics throughout dinner: our jobs, families, hobbies, anything to take our minds off the growing sexual tension that was palpable between us. But it was just a matter of time before the conversation lulled and we came face to face with our desires. Himari's lips were soft against mine as she slowly pressed them together. Her hands slipped up my torso and over my shoulders, pulling herself closer to me as I cupped her face in my palms, losing myself in the moment. As we kissed, Himari's hands worked deftly on my belt and trousers, undoing them quickly before pushing both trousers and underwear down around my ankles, leaving me standing there helplessly exposed, both physically and emotionally. Her touch was gentle as she ran her fingers slowly up and down my body, using her silky smooth movements. She then dropped to her knees, taking me with a hunger that shocked me. My head rolled back as I let out a deep groan, not having felt such pleasure for years, if ever. My wife had always been reluctant during physical interactions, considering it dirty or degrading in some way, so this was an entirely new experience for me. Himari's tongue played expertly across my skin and my complete body. She repeated this several times, each movement sending intense waves of pleasure coursing through every inch of my body. I could feel a familiar surge growing inside me, an intense build-up inside. But I wanted to draw out these feelings for as long as possible, savoring every second of this unexpected bliss. Pulling Himari up from her kneeling position in front of me, I kissed her deeply, savoring the taste of her lips before gently pushing her down onto the edge of the kitchen counter. I slid my hand up under her dress, feeling the warmth of her smooth skin as I traced my fingers up the inside of her thigh. With each touch, she let out a soft whimper before kissing me again, desperately eager to feel more of me. I pulled away from our kiss and looked deep into Himari's eyes, their desire intensified by our shared passion. I could feel her body pressed against mine. We both moaned with pleasure as we began moving. Himari's legs wrapped around me, not letting me go as we passionately made love on top of that kitchen counter, bodies entwined in a single moment of pure ecstasy. With one final contact, Himari let out a guttural scream, almost animalistic in its intensity, as she delved into ecstasy right there in front of me, her whole body shaking uncontrollably. The sight and sound were so far removed from anything I had experienced with my wife that it was like making love for the first time all over again. Feeling my own sensation due to this sight, I didn't hold back any longer. A huge wave crashed over me, one more powerful than anything felt before. It was an overwhelming pleasure that threatened to send me crumbling to the floor. We held each other tightly as we caught our breath, kissed gently on each other's lips and spoke with a tenderness that belied our newfound passion. It was a moment I will never forget. When I finally arrived home that evening, my wife was already tucked up in bed, feigning sleep to avoid any unnecessary confrontation. I lay down beside her as quietly as I could, trying not to wake her, but my head was full of thoughts from the events of that night and sleep just would not come. Instead, I turned to face my wife's softly breathing form and let my mind wander back to those strong arms and warm touch of Himari, the intensity of our connection still fresh in my memory. I gently placed my hand on top of my wife's as it rested on the duvet between us, feeling grateful for all we had shared together but knowing deep down that this was the start of something entirely new. Something that could never be undone.